Oh, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me again on this vlog. Today is Tuesday, March 31st. I should know that, but I haven't gotten out of the house in a while, other than just for like a quick walk around the neighborhood. So I hope you're all doing the same thing, heeding the orders and advisories of your local health officials and local leaders, and just staying safe. Practice that social distancing. But we're not really going to be talking too much here about the coronavirus pandemic. If you want to get all the facts, all the information, and up to the minute, like latest info on this whole pandemic, just go to the websites that you see on your screen right now, cdc.gov and who.int. That's where you can get all of the latest information and updates on this pandemic. But I'm excited to have today a special guest. I actually interviewed her for my podcast, The Hangry Mexican, which I really think you should go and listen, especially to this episode, because it's awesome. She's been doing creating digital content, and she's a producer and host and a writer. I'm just excited to have her and have a little chat with her on how she's doing, just catching up a little bit. So we have Leandra Romero in the house. Is it Leandra?
Hi. You know what? I like Leandra, but
Uh-huh.
it's Leandra. People call me Leandra,
Leandra.
but I always feel like Leandra
Yeah.
sounds fancier. So either one
There,
works for me.
there you go. Well, how are you doing? And how are you holding up?
Oh man, I think pretty good. I've been checking on all of my friends and kind of seeing how everyone else is doing, but I guess I always compare it to like I've always been someone who enjoys time when I'm home and I enjoy finding time to be creative. And I think I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed and super busy, and life was chaotic and it was fun. But I definitely have a gratitude and appreciation for this pause in time. So I think it's like all about perspective really, and my perspective is there's a lot that I can do with this time, and how am I going to utilize that and not be disappointed in myself when things start ramping up again, even though it's probably going to look like a bit of a different world that we're going to enter once we come out of this. So
Yeah.
overall, really good, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good that you're keeping your spirits high. Are you working on any cool projects? I know the last time we talked, you had all these ideas and projects of what you were going to be doing. What's been happening with that?
Oh man, so many things. So in December, I co-produced my first feature film. It's starring Val Kilmer, Luke Goss. We shot it out here in the Coachella Valley, and it was a great experience. My first real experience in the film industry since I was young, and definitely felt like that was a calling and was building momentum. But on the back burner, I think I have a lot of passion projects that are, kind of labor of love and not necessarily something I'm being paid for. So those inevitably, and even people I'm working with on those, get a little bit put in the back burner, which one of them is a true crime podcast series, and another one is my collective series with 5 other women who are around the country, and we're going to be sharing stories of our community members uniting and different things like that, which now more than ever, and I've talked to each of the women, we've discussed we need to be sharing these stories of the collective and how people are doing great things together. And some coronavirus stories will probably inevitably happen once we launch and everything like that. So those are just a few of the things that I'm working on and kind of grateful to have that time. My consistent job is working for a magazine and writing for a magazine, which I'm on furlough right now, which I think a lot of people have been either laid off or put on furlough. And so, dealing with that has been really interesting. I don't even think I knew what furlough was before all of this, to be quite honest. I'm like, what is furlough? Am
Yeah.
I fired? So, different impacts, but I think creatively, nothing's really changed for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's good. I mean, change and not change is good, especially during these times. It seems like the folks that are really thriving during this time are the creative types. I mean, I can't tell you how much fun I'm having just working from home because first of all, I don't get to drive, so that's saving me on gas. But also,
Totally.
I get some time to dedicate it to some projects. I mean, what we're doing right now, doing a live show or a live stream. Um, I had this idea of doing this, but later on in the year. So with this outbreak and this pandemic going on, it kind of just precipitated me doing things. So it's like one of the things I wanted to do was upgrade my camera because I was, you know, I mentioned this earlier to you off camera that this particular DSLR just kind of shuts off after 30 minutes, so I kind of have to just restart it right away. But there are cameras out there that don't do that. So I was thinking about upgrading little things here and there, and then kicking off something like what we're doing right now. I would say maybe by the fall of this year. But now that I do have the time as well to just kind of be at home and take care of some other things. I mean, I was just pulling weeds like a week ago or so. So I've been doing a lot of things
Yeah.
to keep busy around the house and also keep my mind busy, and that's creating things like this and kind of keep beating my podcast going. Which right now it's in the second season, but I've been the process. I've been slow. Or has been a little slow right now because of what's going on, and I have to figure out how to do certain things remote, especially because some people don't have the good equipment and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, like in your case, like your audio is pristine. Like with the podcast, audio is important.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
mm-hmm.
All of the gear and everything like that. I guess I'm
Yeah,
curious, what other than the time, what caused you to want to launch this now and really like pursue this idea now?
of live streaming.
Yeah.
Um, well, I thought it was I always wanted to do something like that, but I felt like I didn't have the hardware, the software, or the knowledge or time on doing it. But yeah, I always liked doing a live show of something, and whenever I did, I mean, back in Santa Barbara when I worked at the TV station there, I used to do a lot of Facebook lives and Instagram lives, and I always wondered if there was a way that I could make something look professional, but also like a little bit of entertaining, and also just how I could figure out how to do certain things, like for example, hooking up a DSLR camera to make a nice shot look even better instead of using just a little webcam or something.
Hmm.
And so all this stuff takes research, and so I wasn't ready back then. I mean, my phone is like a great weapon. It's like the iPhone 11 Pro, and he has really good quality images. I've even gone out and shot some news stories for digital just on my phone. But doing a live stream is different because it's all these little components that go into play that I just have a lot of fun researching. I mean, like internet speed, for example, upload speed counts for everything. So just stuff
Hmm.
like that. I've always wanted to do it, but I've always thought about the logistics of it, and I kind of just whenever I had free time, I would do research here and there. But now that I have all this time spending at home, I've had more time to start doing more research. And it wasn't until actually I started working in Los Angeles when I started getting a little bit more time. Because in Santa Barbara, it was just me doing digital, but out here in LA, I have a team that helps out with the daily content. So by the time I get in, then I have to just deal with what I do. Um,
Hmm.
so I have a little bit more time to start researching. So that's why I was gonna launch this. I was almost there, but as you can see, I have a bare white wall, and just I don't really like it that much. So I'm thinking about doing something with it at some point. But that's kind of what's keeping me busy these days. Just kind of figuring certain things out, continuing doing creative projects, and yeah, and you just never know. Like another idea is doing an IG TV show or vlog there just
Yeah.
for that platform. So we'll see how that works. But this is all just like, turning in my head right now. But yeah, what about you? What are you? Let me ask you this actually: Are you quarantined by yourself? Or are you with your family or friends or anybody?
No, I'm actually quarantined with my boyfriend, which my family keeps asking if he's doing okay being quarantined with me. But we spend a lot of time at home. It's nothing really new for us because we went through a major job change last year and kind of had that whole identity crisis of like, what are we going to do? But we really come back to like our home and the gratitude we have for our home. So really, it's just been him and I, and it's a little bit different out here because we do live in more of a retiree area, and there's a lot of people that are 60 and over. And so our encounters with people has changed drastically just because that thought in your mind of, oh, what if I'm a carrier, or what if I get this person sick who is older? Like how would I deal with knowing that I put somebody in jeopardy type of thing. So we do live in a very, I guess, different area because we're super seasonal too. And we usually have a lot of snowbirds and everyone has left. And obviously Coachella was supposed to be in April, Stagecoach. This is supposed to be our busy time. So it's been interesting. I think for myself and Austin, it hasn't changed too much in our relationship or anything like that, having to be quarantined together. We work out together. We read together. Like we kind of operate just independently, but together. But as far as in our community, it's very different out here, especially because it's supposed to be so busy right now. This is our time. This is when our local economy makes the most money based off of tourism. So I think that's been the biggest
Hmm.
difference.
Yeah, and how do you feel that the entire entertainment industry has changed because of this? Especially, how has that affected you personally doing the projects that you're doing now that you can't really go out? Like, what are some of the
Mm-hmm.
limitations that you've encountered just doing what you do, being a host, writer, producer?
Yeah, well, writing the magazine, I think, you have to think a lot of people were like, well, there will still be a need for content, but some magazines are use investors or advertisements, which those get pulled. So that has stopped the writing for the magazine. And then production wise, these film productions are usually 20 plus people. So they right away I knew that we weren't going to be working on the next film anytime soon just because of that is we can't have more than 10 people, we can't do these large scale productions. So really I kind of came down to like what can I do now, which like you said is research, because I think a lot of people don't realize how much research goes into equipment, maybe the person that you're going to be interviewing, all of these kind of independent creative aspects before you start filming, before you are like writing magazines for a bunch of publications. It really starts with one person beginning that research. What do I do? So I think a lot of people don't realize how much time goes into it until they start doing it, which is fun because now, like you said, a lot of people are wanting to get creative, are wanting to, and I've gotten a lot of calls on, hey, how do I set this up? Hey, how would I record this? Which I get really excited about because that's what I've studied. I studied it in college. I studied journalism, had film classes, and even our generation or being of this time, you have a grasp on social media. So I've been getting a lot of calls about that, which excites me. But I think people are always really surprised to find out how much goes into it. And it's very meticulous, like these little things can throw off your audio, little things can throw off this. So I always kind of recommend to people start with a dream board, start writing, start, where how, and then we can build off of that depending on what you want to produce. Because I think at my core, I'm a producer. I like to make visions happen. So that's kind of what I've been helping a lot of people do.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I'm a little bit of the same way. When somebody asks me, how to do something, I get so excited. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Especially if I have the gadgets to show. I mean, there's always I have my briefcase that I would take to work every day. And in that briefcase, it looks like there's important paperwork in there, but there's really not. There's just all these, I call them tech toys. So
Uh-huh.
there's a cable that I use to connect a professional microphone to my iPhone, and I can do anything with that. Record videos, do Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, whatever I want. I can do that. That's just one example. But it took me a little bit of research just to find that specific cable with that
Hmm.
from that brand, that company. So yeah, I have some of these tech tools, and so when somebody asks me, "Oh, is there a way that I can?" Oh, well, let me show you. And so
Yeah,
I busted
right.
out and do that. Um, but yeah,
I
like
love that.
stuff that I have lying around. I mean, there was a time in my life when I would photograph weddings, or I would do video, or interviews. I kind of just There was a time when I actually had my own business, believe it or not, but that was short lived. And even then, it was an
Ooh, I didn't
ordeal.
know that about you, Oscar. That's news
Yeah,
to me.
it was called Red Pacific Media. Um,
Oh, I like that. Red Pacific Media. Because you're
yeah.
local, right?
Uh, y-
LA?
well, Southern California. I was born and raised in Santa Barbara. So it's not too far
Okay.
from LA, actually. It's maybe like about an hour and a half. Although these days, without traffic, it's probably an hour or less.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have all this equipment that I've not been able to sell, and also it's just lying here. So, for example, just for starters, a lot of people use a ring light to do these types of productions, but I've had these light kits for a while, and so I just busted one out and set it up, and I have white walls in this room, so that serves as a good reflector for light, and I just use that to light myself up. So I already had that kind of equipment. I've had this DSLR for a while, and usually I like to go out and photograph things, but lately, because of what's happening in the situation, I don't want to really expose myself. It's like you mentioned earlier. It's even if you're feeling fine, you don't know if you're gonna go visit somebody that you don't know if they have some underlying health issue or something, and then you give it to them, you pass it along. It's just, I want to just stay out of that mess. So I haven't
Hmm.
really had the time to, or the environment to go out and do photography like I normally do. So now I have this DSLR just kind of lying around the house. So what do I do with it? So I'm doing this stuff. So for me, it starts out too with just what equipment do I have, and I want to get to this goal. So how do I get there with what I do have right now, and then kind of just upgrade from
Yeah.
there a little bit here and there. Um, but with you doing all the projects that you're doing, do you even have time to watch a little bit of streaming content like from Netflix or Hulu?
Oh my gosh, I binge so hard. I think that's kind of why I'm a night owl because it's like a shameful thing that I wait till everyone's sleeping and then I just watch all of like some trash TV, some really great shows. We just have so many options these days. Obviously, Tiger King. I want to
Okay,
say I was one of the first to watch Tiger. I watched Tiger King before ever no one was talking about it.
okay, we're gonna talk about that then, because Tiger King, like, what
Let's talk
is all
about
the hype?
Tiger King.
I don't understand what the hype is
Oh,
all
you haven't
about.
seen it?
Well, I started watching it, so I'm like on
Okay.
episode 2, I think, right now. But yeah, what is the hype about it? It's just a guy that does tigers.
I
I don't
think
know.
because it takes so many turns, I really, and it's scandalous and it's the worst side of humanity. I think I
Yeah.
don't know, people are reacting so different because I think at the end of it my heartstrings get pulled for animals always, like I can't not see that, but people really are backing Joe Exotic. They love it. And he kind of, I was talking with my boyfriend about this, and it's like he stuck to what he wanted to do and really made it happen. Like, even though it's a really poor example of that and he went to great lengths where people shouldn't, but he has like a YouTube channel. I think they said 20 people watched it, and this person, it's not like his YouTube channel grew overnight, but he kind of kept at it for years and years and years. And I really think the whole idea and concept behind using animals and exotic animals is this sense of power that these people get. And I think that he felt that sense of power, and you are able to charge people a lot of money. I mean, like, who's worse, a person doing this or the masses like us paying a lot of money to go contribute to these people,
Yeah.
using exploiting animals essentially. It's just crazy. I mean, what do you
Yeah.
think so far?
Well, I think it's one of those uh, shows where everybody's in the wrong. That includes
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
big cat rescue. So everybody's kind of like going at each
Mm-hmm.
other's throats. You got the people that have these private zoos, and
Mm-hmm.
they like Joe Exotic, and so in a way, yes, that's wrong to me in my eyes. Like anytime
Mm-hmm.
you keep a cage, an animal cage, especially an animal like a tiger cage, it's wrong. And
Yeah.
those things need to be in the wild. So whether you're like Joe Exotic and have a private zoo, or like you're I forget her name, but she runs the
Carol.
Carol.
Can't
Yes,
forget Carol.
Carol running the big cat rescue. I think both are wrong, and I think this documentary does show, or this series. I should call it series because
Mm-hmm.
it's more than just a one time thing. There's like all these episodes. I think 8 episodes.
Oops, sorry, there's a fly on my
No,
camera.
no
I
worries.
am outside. Anyways.
Yeah, no, and then it's
Continue.
nice and sunny out. Definitely got to be outside and get some fresh air.
Yes, you
But
have to.
yeah, so like that's what I've noticed on this limited series, that it's everybody's in the wrong, but everybody's doing it their way, and like you said, some of these folks have been doing it or keeping at it for a long time. And like Joe Exotic, I was like, oh my goodness, he has his own live stream show, and this was back when it was when it was still 4:3 format, standard definition.
Hmm.
I was like, man, and like they show up behind the scenes shots of it, and I said that's a really fancy setup. Um, but I think he even has his own CD, country album or something like that.
He has an album. He has every merch, all of that. But I guess as a producer, to me, the most
Yeah,
interesting interview was the producer who was supposed to be shooting a reality TV show and essentially made this deal with Joe that I will produce your YouTube video, in which the producer said he didn't care at all about the YouTube
yeah,
streaming video, but he was able to gain that relationship with Joe and film everything, which everything got burnt down. Oh, am I
yeah.
ruining it for you? I'm ruining it for you. I'm gonna
No,
stop so you
no.
can finish watching it.
Well,
But yeah.
one of the things about me is that even if you tell me the ending, I'm still gonna watch it, because the way that my mind works is, I believe it or not, I like to start at the end of something. I want to
Oh.
get the the final thing, so that I can work my way back and figure out how it came to be to that ending.
Wow. So do you like read a book backward? You just start from the end? What is that?
Sometimes
Why?
I do. Sometimes I do. Yeah, well, it's because it's easy to get that final ending. And this is like a lot of um, uh, I've dealt with people that all they see is the end product. They don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So then they think, oh,
Totally.
it's great, what's happening. Like, I love it. But it's like, okay, well, you don't really see the struggle it took to get to that point. So for
Mm,
me, I love the thrill of the journey to get to that point. I don't care about the ending. I mean, it's fine and everything.
yeah.
I just don't really care about that. I care more about the journey it took to get to that point. So that's how my mind works. So if I can, I like to start at the very end and then work my way back
Hmm.
to figure out how it got to that. And to me, that's more satisfying than the ending.
Oh, that's
I,
perfect. So no spoilers it doesn't spoil it for you. It just makes it better for you.
exactly.
I,
I mean, I think um, this Tiger King is like what it is a good example of is like you mentioned it earlier. It's like these folks that are keeping at it, keep doing what they're doing, and then eventually they start seeing results. So it's
mhm.
like somewhat of a journey for the creative folks out there too, like you and folks like me and other folks out there that are doing digital content, where it might not pay off with results immediately, but if you
Mhm.
just keep at it over time, you're going to start seeing some results. Is that how you
Yeah,
feel?
I agree. I mean, Tiger King aside, I hate using them as an example for anything, but it's so juicy and so funny. But I do think the most vulnerable thing about being creative is really it comes from an idea in your head. And then now how do I take that idea? And I think for entrepreneurs too, and I think for a lot of people who, invent things, it's a really vulnerable process. And especially if you're not getting that validation right away or that feedback, on I think ultimately people start buying in, at some point in time, and that can't be why you're creating your content or things like that. I think like the intention behind what you're doing has to really be something that's pure and something that's about giving rather than receiving, and therefore you're going to be able to stick with it through the long haul, because like you said, it's not pretty. I think, creating isn't always pretty. Sometimes it's tough, sometimes you cry, sometimes you're like, why is this especially technical difficulties, especially, and those are the greatest lessons you learn, especially in school. Those were some of the greatest lessons I learned, checking your gear before you go, because especially if you're out on location, once you're out there, you're pretty much cut off from all your ties and everything like that, unless you have a big team helping you, which in news, we didn't, it was pretty much
Hmm.
one man band. And that was my greatest school. I think film school, but also working in news helped me understand on just a one person level, being a one man band, producing a whole show pretty much by yourself, with your anchors looking over a few things, but being 22, 23, doing that, you make a lot of mistakes, but those are really what you learn from.
Yeah, and you worked in Palm Springs, if I remember correctly.
I did, yes, the
Okay.
ABC and CBS affiliate out
Mm.
here. So I produced for about 2.5 years, and then I started reporting towards the end, because I got pretty bored in the studio. I think I was like getting cabin fever, and in the newsrooms, there's no windows, at least in most of them. So I felt locked in, and I just wanted to talk to people, and I wanted to take the stories as far as I could take them, and work on writing one story versus cranking it out, because you're kind of always racing against the clock in news.
Yeah, yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
Eh,
Do you feel like you
yeah,
have more of an outlet with your podcast and with this live vlog versus, in the
yeah.
news world?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think if you work in the in the news industry, you're bound by a set of norms that you have
Hmm.
to kind of follow. Um, you have to be this professional type, and it might not, the situation might not allow for you to be more casual like we are right now. And so this is what I enjoy the
Hmm.
most. This is the environment that I thrive in. And so that's one of the reasons why I also switched over to just doing digital content. I started out as a news photographer, and I felt like I was only using some of my skills, not all of it. So by switching
Hmm.
over to digital and doing creative content, now I feel like I can use my entire set of skills. I can use my skills as a photographer, as a journalist, uh, um, uh, to do these things that I want to do in digital. And this is like a great platform. I'm creating a YouTube channel. I have fun creating, setting up things like a YouTube channel. Sprucing up my Facebook page, and yeah, I mean, I just have a lot of fun doing that. And I feel like I have a little bit more freedom to do that stuff, and um, I do put work into it just because I do feel like these outlets, these platforms, do are so freeing in a way.
Hmm.
It's like if you're a teenager and you grab your first car, what do you want to do? Like you want to go out and drive around and explore and grow from those experiences. So that's kind of how I'm seeing these things that I'm doing. Yeah, I was here before, but now let's get to that point and open up the gates here, the floodgates, if you will. um,
Totally. I
yeah.
think I think digital, I think everybody, who's worked in news and just anybody understands that digital is a little more liberating, especially with time constraints. Like we can have a half hour conversation where, in news, it's always, can you make it shorter, 30 seconds or less? And how much of a story can you really tell in 30 seconds, So I think that's interesting because a lot of people, and with the corona happening, are asking me, how do you think the world is going to change? How do you think this is going to affect the movie industry or the movie theaters? So I think people that are becoming better and well versed in digital are a little bit ahead of the game because that's where most people are going, because people want the freedom to be able to listen to something for however long they want and click something else, instead of the television determining how long you're going to watch something or what you're going to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And even with this vlog, I kind of started out with one idea, but it kind of morphed into, hey, why don't I just bring people in and just have a chat? But some people have asked me, well, like, what is the blog about? Like, is it like, are you going to talk about coronavirus? Are you going to give news because you're a news person? Like, are you? I said, no. Like, one of the things, the easiest way to get in trouble
Mm-hmm.
as a journalist is giving out misinformation, because you're taking all these sources that are coming into your head, from local law enforcement to health officials. I mean, it's all these sources that you're trying to sort out as a journalist so that you can provide with the most accurate information. But that's also the easiest way to get in trouble, because you don't know who's right and who's wrong at that point. Who is being contradictory, and and yeah, that's your job as a journalist, to sort that out. But why not just avoid it at all if you're not actually doing the news? Like right now, when I go into
Mm-hmm.
work in a few hours, my mode just switches to news. So I'm trying to decipher all the information and get it out there to the public and be accurate about it. But I'm not in news right now. I'm not in that news mode. And so when people ask me about this vlog, I say, well, just think of it as a tree house, that you're hanging out with. You're trying to get away from things that are happening. So you're going into this tree house just to meet up with a couple friends or whatnot, and just chat. Just chat about anything. Chat about what you're doing. Just relax a little bit,
Yeah.
and then you can go back out there and face whatever's going on. So that's kind of how I'm seeing this vlog. We're not really talking about the facts about coronavirus. Plus, the updates keep changing every minute. I mean, today is going to be another
Yeah.
day with press conferences that, yeah, it's numbers are going to go up and all this and that. I mean, it's just information that I don't feel at this point is right of me to talk about. So that's why I just direct people to a website where they can actually find all the information. But with just coming back to digital before we wrap this up, what is your best advice for people out there that are watching this that want to start creating more digital content during these times? Like, what's the best way to go about it, since you can't really go out of your house and deal with certain steps that you would normally take, certain procedures you would normally take if this pandemic wasn't going on right now?
Well, first of all, I love your treehouse idea. I feel like I am in a treehouse because I'm like in front of a bush right now, but I love that idea. I've always loved treehouses. I think some great advice for people wanting to start, and you really touched on it a lot as far as saying, I have an idea, but it's morphed into something else, and I don't necessarily have all of the gear I would love to have to make this happen, to have polished look, but we all have cameras in our hand with our cell phone. And so even if it's starting small, even if it's documenting your own journey for yourself, I think that's somewhere somebody could start to kind of build that confidence, because it does take guts, I think, to put something out there. So really writing about your own journal or journey, documenting your own journey, and then, whatever ideas come to light, because I usually try to meditate in the morning, or at least sit still and sit outside and see what ideas kind of come to me. Sometimes those are the ideas that need to be brought to light, that need to happen. So listening to that inner voice, doing your research, asking friends, because I think most of us know someone who is pretty well versed with technology. I think there's so many components that you might be technologically savvy, you might be more of the creative mind where you're a great writer. So whatever you kind of have the best skill set in, start working on that, start getting better at that, start building those skills, and don't be afraid to put it out there. It's only going to get better. What you first put out there isn't going to be something that you're going to put out in 5 months. You're going to keep working at it, you're going to keep polishing it up, and it's going to improve inevitably. So that's my advice. Do you have any advice, Oscar?
I think you put it very, very well. I don't think I can follow that up. Yeah,
What? Yes, you can.
I think you said it perfectly. You lit it out. I think what people do need to hear right now, if they do want to. Oh, well, actually, no. Here's one tip. It's not really advice, I would say, but there's a tip. If figure out what your plan is right now for creating digital content and what hardware you're gonna need, because I found that there's all these little devices that will allow you to do certain things that are getting sold out fast. They're out of stock or they're hard to find right now. Computer parts. So just figure out what you need, and then go search online for some reputable online stores that you can get this stuff from. Because right now some of these things are selling out like hotcakes. Like, for example, I have a little thing called it's a little device, looks like almost like a flash drive, but it's called a CamLink 4K. It allows me to attach my DSLR camera to my computer essentially. That's out of stock. I haven't seen it anywhere other than I don't, maybe it's on eBay or something, but just figure out what components you're gonna need, what's affordable now, and then try and get it as soon as possible, because their stuff is going out of stock. Leandra, do you have any? I just want to give you the last word here before we wrap this up. Do you have anything else you want to add that we didn't mention? Anything at all?
You know what? I think everybody is kind of having their own personal experiences with everything. So I would just recommend looking into that and taking the time to be gentle with yourself throughout this process, and kind of understand that really what we're being displayed is that we're all very much connected, and how we utilize that connection, or how we take care of each other throughout this process, is probably the most important lesson to be learned. So that's really probably my final thoughts. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, well said. Well, thank you for just coming out on this vlog and just having a chat with me. I really enjoyed it, and just thank you for your great advice on creating digital content during this time.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me. And once we get out of lockdown, we need to get those tacos in LA that we were talking about. So
Yes,
I
tacos
don't
por
know when
favor.
that'll happen. Yeah, 2022. We'll see you then.
Exactly. Yeah, a heck of a start to the new decade.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. But
Okay.
thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks, Leandra, and stay safe out there, and best of wishes to the boyfriend as well. Hope you both stay safe and your family stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you also to everybody that tuned in to watch this Facebook Live. And, you can follow me on social media as well. My Instagram at @ofloresnews, and my Twitter handle is at @oflores. So connect with me there on social. And also, if you're looking for all the latest information on coronavirus or the COVID-19, you can visit these two websites that are at the bottom of your screen, cdc.gov and who.int. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. Stay safe out there. Get a little bit of fresh air, and yeah, get your creative juices flowing and have fun. Make the most of what's going on now. If you are quarantined with your family, then spend as much time as you can with them and having a lot of fun. All right, thanks everybody. Have a great day.